all you got? Mark, I don't want to hurt you.
After the rigorous fight with Doc Seismic, Mark wasn't happy with the fact that Cecil had to send Darkwing, who was once a supervillain, to their aid, so he angrily left the scene, heading back to the headquarters to confront Cecil. Mark was immensely pissed at Cecil for recruiting villains into the Guardians, and no matter how Cecil tried to explain the situation to him, Mark wouldn't budge. Cecil felt his life was now at risk, so he stylishly led Mark into the White Room, a place he had long prepared, should in case Mark goes bizarrely out of control. On spur of moment, Sinclair's robots surrounded Mark in bid to protect Cecil, and it was at this moment he revealed to him why he recruited the villains, by telling him how he became the GDA director. Young Cecil infiltrated a shop, using a gun to send all the inhabitants out. Then he proceeded to the storage room in search of a very dangerous bioatomic weapon. On short notice, he was intercepted by Knucklebuster, who was a renowned member of the Freeing Fists Supervillain League. Cecil and Knucklebuster engaged in an utterly gruesome battle of the ages, and she initially gained the upper hand by beating the shit out of him. But Cecil was able to turn the tides of the fight by shocking her to the bones with a taser gun. After this event, he proceeded to deactivate the bioweapon, but before he could, Force Fist returned just in time to help his love. The two villains figured the whole place was now surrounded by agents, so they chose to accomplish their mission once and for all, disregarding the fact that they'll be affected in the process. After activating the weapon, their bodies were atomically degraded due to the intense fumes. On seeing this, Cecil scurrily pushed them inside the cabinet and further held it down tightly. But it was already quite late, as the fumes found its way out the door, thereby affecting Cecil fiercely, and he almost lost his life in the process. The then GDA director, Radcliffe, was able to restore him back to shape at the headquarters, and Cecil made sure they didn't tamper with the scar on his face, so it'll serve as a keen reminder for the time he messed up. After a particular mission, Radcliffe and Cecil were gravely wounded, and as they were about to escape, they were intercepted by a huge mutant supervillain. The villain was about to end them, but then, the Freeing Fists League came to their rescue, all to Cecil's astonishment. The duo jointly engaged the villain in a brutal fight, and on short notice, they were able to take him down without hassle. Radcliffe tried to explain to Cecil that they're reformed and now work for him, but Cecil couldn't bear the thought of working with wannabe villains, so he shot them both in cold blood. Because of this course of action, Cecil was sent to prison to serve a certain jail time. The jail was that for supervillains, and it was a mess as at the time he got there, but after staying there for some time, he reformed the place to a more inhabitable setting. Few years later, Radcliffe came to visit Cecil with a proposition. Radcliffe offered Cecil to take over his position as the GDA director, and although he initially refused, he later accepted when Radcliffe explained to him what was at stake. Mark wasn't still appeased with the explanation. As to him, it didn't make it okay to work with supervillains. On spur of moment, Mark took down all Sinclair's robots around him, but the more he obliterated them, more and more just kept on surrounding him. Mark was almost able to get through to Cecil, and it was at this moment Cecil activated his secret weapon. The weapon was a frequency implanted deep in Mark's ears, with the ability to completely restrict all his movements. Mark bursted out of the White Room to escape this, but Cecil kept on following him wherever he went to, so as to keep him from doing something rash. Mark eventually bursted into the Globe's headquarters, and as Cecil was about to transport him back to GDA, the Guardians of the Globe joined Mark to fight against Cecil. Rex blasted the frequency control from Cecil's hand, and this made the frequency to beep in Mark's head unceasingly without control. After the frequency stopped, Mark flipped out, killing all the robots he could lay his hands on, after which, he placed Cecil on chokehold almost to the extent of killing him, swearing to never work for him again. This action of his made all the Guardians extremely frightened. Then Mark left them and went home. We now come to the conclusion of the second phase of this series. If you love animation like this, please like, subscribe, and comment. Thank you.